Yeah, in a coma for 5 days, massive bleeding on the brain, broke 20 bones, had a massive internal bleeding in my lungs. But basically, for a moment, I literally I was experiencing the all of everything. I've been a lifelong martial artist. I've been an instructor for a long time, and I'm very diligent about my training. I'm a very skinny looking guy if you meet me, but I'm super diligent about my training. And back in the day when I was younger, I did a lot of cross training with climbing. I used to climb rocks, mountainsides, you name it, I would climb it, including trees, of course. And being in the city, sometimes the trees were just easier to get to. And for my exercise and part of my workout, I had a couple trees I like climbing. And that particular spring, it was a very dry spring here in Colorado. Usually spring is very wet here in Colorado. It was quite dry and the trees were brittle. I stepped on a branch, it let go. I started to go down, I grabbed a second branch and it broke too. Kind of spun me around and put me at an angle where I went down and hit the concrete head first. Yeah, in a coma for 5 days, massive bleeding on the brain, broke 20 bones, had a massive internal bleeding in my lungs, contracted pneumonia the first night. Anything that could have gone wrong did go wrong that first night. And I've had a lot, and I was in, like I said, coma for 5 days. I had a number of my doctors, especially those that were around for that period, that commented to me that they thought for sure that there was, when I would crash, I crashed a whole bunch of times during that period. They thought for sure I wasn't going to make it. There was a couple of times I was told they were ready to call it, and somehow I came back. But basically, for a moment, I literally I was experiencing the all of everything. For a moment, it was literally from the lightest of the light to the darkest of the dark and everything in between, all at once. For a moment, it was all of space, whatever the expanse of the universe may really be, all at once. All of time, past, present, and future, all at once. Potential for multiple realities and parallel universes, those infinite possibilities all at once. And with that, infinite dimensions all at once. And at the core of all of that was the most pure, most true, most authentic love I think I could even begin to imagine. There was no experience in my physical life that is profound and impactful to me as that NDE was, and still is, every single day of my life. It's like the lights got turned on from that NDE and they stayed on. I didn't go somewhere, come back, and waiting to die to go back again or something. It's like I went there and I'm still there. Even though I'm here talking to you, I'm there all the time. The moment I was there, I felt like I was one with the source itself. I mean, one with God. In a manner of speaking, I hate to say it like this. I'm sorry to say it like this in a way, but I was God for a moment. I was the source. And this is really, really important. This is the source of all of us. This isn't something that's separate. This is the core source for all of us. What I touched into is what we all really are at the very core of it all. This is the part of us that is divine. This is the part of us that is the soul. This is just my take based on my NDE, but I feel like there is but one soul, the soul of the divine. But this one singular divine soul is having this infinity of experiences through multiple soul journeys, as well as many, many lifetimes just like this one. But this is all the stuff that came out of this NDE. I have these ideas about why gravity is dark energy and how it relates in a multi-universal existence, and nothing like I ever even imagined, considering where my life was before, the kind of person that I've been throughout this course of life. Yes, it was incredibly profound, and talk about the ultimate transformation, at least for me to imagine. And if you read the book, you kind of get a sense of where I've been in this life. I was you seem like a very dark individual. It's like, okay, considering where I've been in this life, I can understand if I come across as a bit of a dark individual. But at the same time, regardless of where you come from, what you've done, you can make decisions to choose love. Decide every day when I get up, I was like, okay, today, what am I going to do? What's the most loving way I can approach the situation with a friend of mine, a situation with maybe the career, or even a situation, how do I come into an interview like this and just make sure I can do it with just my heart on my sleeve and just be as real and authentic as I can be. Well, that's interesting, because over the 11 years since this has happened, I feel like I've been in like the caterpillar that went into the cocoon, and 11 years later, I'm just now kind of coming out. So a lot of it, I've really been figuring out, how is that really going to look? How is that really going to work? So there's multiple aspects of that, not the least of which, of course, is the writing of my books. I've got a second one that's actually fairly close to editing. and a third one that's even mostly written. It's in terms of the 3-book series. I want to just put out these ideas, just food for thought. I'm not saying you got to agree with me or disagree with me, but let's put it out there and let's talk about this so that I'm helping you find your own way. You can figure this out so we can all figure it out together. Then I've got the presentations, and I love to engage with people, whether it's on Zoom or in a group of people face to face, so we can talk about these things and interact about that, so we get those wheels turning and everybody thinking about this. Okay, what does this life mean to me? What is important to me? Who am I really? Am I doing what I really want to do? Am I the person I really want to be right now? If the answer is no to any of those questions, well, what can I do about that? What steps can I take? And one of the reasons I tell the story part of it is so that, as I say it on the back of my book, if some part of my experience, if some part of my story rather, can help you with some part of your story, then goal accomplished. Because one thing that's cool about the book is almost everyone that reads it and comes back to me and talks to me about it, there's something different that they identify with in the book, which I think is really cool. In addition to all of that, I discovered I'm a musician, producer, composer. I think I briefly mentioned that a moment ago. My music is meant to be its own form of inspiration. I want to, even through music, touch people through performance and the artwork and through dance and all the things that we have going on with shows that we do when we put these shows on. They're really incredible shows. And when people are moved, you got people of all ages that come out there. Everyone's dancing, they're hanging out together, they're smiling, having a great time. That's fellowship. That's bringing people together. Music and art is a powerful force for that. And I feel like that's a big thing that I think is going to maybe bring the books, bring the presentations and these ideas all together, because music is something you can do that all over the world. Everyone loves music, no matter where you are. I can envision, literally, not just hear the sound, but I can envision the sound in my head. I can see it, and as such, I'm able to work with it and make it sound the way I want it to sound. Now, getting into this concept of and I know everyone's wondering about, what about angels and spirits and your guardians and guides and all these other things? And it's yes, when it is part of the experience of the whole, I experience all of that all at once. And the crazy thing is, now in my life, in addition to the relationships I have with the people and the doggies and kitties and all the wonderful creatures that I have relationships with in this life, I now have relationships with beings like angels. I consider these beings my friends. On the one hand, it was actually the medical part of it was really challenging and really difficult. But on the other hand, it's been quite the gift that I do take a great comfort in just knowing what I know. Before, I don't know. Part of it was I kind of the person that I was. Parts of my life, I was so just disappointed with my life. I would have just rather been dead than have to live the life I was living at times. So that was part of it. But now there is a peace that comes with it. There's a certain peace of knowing that we all, I like the word home. We all have a home to go to, and there's no exceptions to that. We're all going to find our way home one way or the other. Some of our journeys home are going to be longer or more difficult than others, but we're going to all find our way home. I've been around people who are dying, and that's a very, very sensitive place to be. And I'm not going to just say, especially if I don't know them very well, I'm not going to just walk up there and just start saying a bunch of things. If I can break the ice, so to speak, get some sort of a connection going on, a sort of trust, if you will, and I can tell that they need this in that moment, I'm going to just share with them where I've been and just let them know that this feeling of love that they're experiencing, these sensations. And if they're seeing somebody, because a lot of times when people are in hospice and whatnot, they're talking to relatives and loved ones and whatnot, and I just say, embrace that, don't question that. And I'll say one thing, and it's a little bit deviation from the question, for anybody who's lost somebody, who's grieving the loss of a loved one, anytime you're thinking about them, every time you're reminiscing on them, especially if they've just died, and you're feeling them, they're right there with you in that moment. They are. Talk to them. Sorry, but they are right there, and they can hear you, they're with you. And if you really just listen, you might be able to hear them too. That stuff is real. Grieving is yes, it's very difficult and painful on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's meant to be a beautiful process, because that's one of the ways we honor and really show how much we love the person who's passing on. And what better way for this person to transition than through all the love of all these people that are, that are grieving over them and thinking about them and reminiscing of all those wonderful times they had together. For me, it's a knowing. I can't, I know it's for everybody else, I can't put it across like that. But for me, I experience this thing. It's more real to me than this conversation is right now. So for me, it is a knowing. I understand that it's fine if you disagree or what have you, see it differently. That's quite all right. Find your way. That's the idea here. We don't have to be seeing eye to eye for all of us to be continuing to talk about this, put the ideas out there, and all of us finding our way as a result. Like I say, our journeys are going to be different. So the way I found my way is probably not the same way as you're finding your way or somebody else is going to find their way. But if you want to reach out to me via email, it's just my name, rexfinfgeld@gmail. And then, of course, gravity.life on Redbubble, the new merch store. I mean, there's so many great things going on and lots to check out. Thank you. Nothing but love. Sending out nothing but love.
If you want more, just check out this next video and get ready to be blown away.
This has been the AJPARR Spiritual Journalist Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe.